critical race theory, the 1619 Project, and the crusade against American history is toxic propaganda.
I want to share part of my good fortune with you. He has no reason to.
I think there's going to be violence, see, because there already has been. I mean, when people try to free themselves, they kill Negroes in the South all the time. The Negro man has been emasculated and destroyed by the fact that every time he stood up, he got just snuffed out right there. So I don't think there's any question but that there's going to be violence and brutality. But my attitude is that the brutality and the violence shouldn't become the reason that you want to be free. But that's a very personal thing, the freedom is. See, the question isn't what is freedom to me, it's what price freedom. Because sometimes the price that you pay for freedom is the very thing that makes you a slave again. That's what I think happened in Russia in 1917. But I know that there's going to be violence. I mean, I think it gets blurred, especially the individual. If I face you violently, see, who knows where that violence began? See, I mean, I might, if I face you with a gun and I got orders to kill you and you got orders to kill me, then we can't really deal with each other. Well, you're a target and I'm a target. So you can't really talk about that. But you can talk about the larger thing, the much more universal thing. The reason that you're there, see, is really not to kill, but to free.
God, do you believe that?
Definitely.
You do?
Definitely.
We're going to have to leave it at that. And Malcolm, I'm sure he's done a good job in rehabilitating you. It was a pleasure to have you on City Desk.
I'm in Chicago for the next 3 weeks at the local mosque at 54th and Greenwood for a special lecture series. Either in Washington, D.C. or in another unnamed city, where you're going to find 5,000 Molotov cocktails used.
Whoa! And they call me the Big Pill.
Well, if we'll all turn our books to the 29th Psalm.
Wait. Now,
That's
come on,
right,
stop playing with that
motherfucker.
thing, now.
You can't read. Oh, well. It's been lousy.
Wait. Now, listen, I've been thinking. I just wanted to come tell you I've been doing some thinking.
Could you be a man, T-Bone, for once?
Oh, come on, now. You're right. No, you're right. Change has definitely got to be made here.
Shut up! Now, you don't want to go out like a little bitch, do you? Big Daddy. Good thing you already peed. I don't think I can handle that.
Wait, now, come on, now. I changed. Like the blood thing. I know that's wrong, okay? I should get a job. Listen, just calm down. Let's go look at the paper, and then I'm gonna stop and looking tomorrow.
Tomorrow? Nigga, I hope you can handle a pitchfork.
Tang, listen to me. Violence never solved anything. If you shoot me, that's gonna make you just as bad as me.
T-Bone, that's the worst one yet.
Hey. Sometimes it takes a situation just like this to let a man like me know how wrong I've been. Right? Give me a chance. Let me get a job. Okay, then I can buy you that house. Remember the house? With the apple tree? I put up an apple tree, pear tree, pickle tree, grape tree. I'll put up any kind of tree you want now, okay? Just give me a chance, okay? This ain't the time to be doing nothing like this. You could have left after the first time I put my hands on you. You know why you didn't?
Ain't nothing out there.
Come on, now that's my shit you running. I told you that. The brainwash you get up inside your head. Huh? Remember when we first met, we used to go to the park, tell me all about your childhood? So many people had already told you wasn't shit that you believed it. I just played on that, that's all. That's all. Okay?
All this coming from a man who sells his food stamps for half price so he can buy beer. See ya.
No, come on, now, Tang. Hey, look.
Move! What are they doing? Didn't that note say we were supposed to wait for instructions?
That ain't your little revolution. There ain't nothing out there but a bunch of niggas just like you that think that they ain't got nothing coming. Oh, Jesus!
See? Black folks can't do nothing right.
See? You brainwashed.
And God, you tell us that this is too much to ask.
This is factually untrue.
You're sick. You're definitely sick. How can you tell me that it's too much to ask to be a human being?
Kill the white race. Get the man that represents the white power structure. Kill the white race.
White people ask me, why am I so angry? And, you know, I don't have any answer for him because it'd be ridiculous for me to answer him because he couldn't understand anyway, obviously, because he asked me the question.
You out of your motherfucking mind, bitch! Get the fuck back! Everybody, I got a hot gun in this house.
But we got him!
Shut up! You know I'm a parole bitch. Get dog. Go down to the river and just take this gun. Dump it in there. And that's gonna be the end of it. What you don't forget all about this. Let me have it about this. Don't mention it to nobody. Don't even mention it to me. And get back down home.
Black man dug the ditches, you down the fine, gave his trouble to Jesus, kept on towing the line. Everybody got a right to live. Everybody got a right to live. Before this movement fails, we all go down in jail. Everybody's got a right to live. Black man dug the pipeline, both night and day. Black man did the work, while the white man got the faith. Now look at here, son, thinking about a income that I never had. Everybody's got a right to live. Everybody's got a right to live. And before this campaign fails, we all go down in jail. Everybody's got a right to live. Black man picked the cotton long time ago. He's been the victim since brought him to the show. Black man dug the ditches, hewed down the pines, gave his trouble to Jesus, kept on towing the line. Everybody's got a right to live. Everybody's got a right to live. And before this movement fails, we all go down in jail. Everybody's got a right to live. Black man dug the pipelines, both night and day. Black man did the work, while the white man got the faith. Now look at here, son, this is a brand new day. No more full-time work, no more part-time pay. Everybody's got a right to live. Everybody's got a right to live. And before this movement fails, we all go down in jail. Everybody's got a right to live. Yeah. I want my share of silver. I want my share of gold. Want my share of justice. Kill my dying soul. Black men dug the ditches long time ago. He's been the victim since brought him to this show. Everybody's got a right to live. Everybody's got a right to live. And before this movement fails, we all go down in jail. Everybody's got a right to live.
You gave the argument that because capitalism in practice requires expropriation and robbery, that there are so few developed capitalist states, and gave the example of the alleged British expropriation of India. This leads me to wonder from what part of India did the British expropriate the steam engine and the many intellectual developments which sparked the Industrial Revolution in that country. If material goods were the fundamental prime cause of the Industrial Revolution, why didn't the Indians have their own Industrial Revolution centuries before the British came along? In summary, I ask, didn't the Industrial Revolution require reason and intellect as its prime cause rather than expropriation?
Would that the question was as clever as it sounds. Have you, sir, or has anyone else here, read Edmund Burke's speech on the impeachment of Warren Hastings? In there you will find laid out in some detail the description of the enormous transfer of wealth from India to the islands in the North Sea, known as Great Britain and Northern Ireland today. Burke was in fact so alarmed by this process, it wasn't out of compassion for India that he mentioned it. He was alarmed that the process was in fact enriching a whole new class that would corrupt Parliament in Britain, and not without reason, and that's why Hastings had to be impeached. That is how some of the capital that led to the Industrial Revolution was accumulated. That's what I said. Now, it's also true that India got the steam engine as a result, probably rather earlier than it would have otherwise, which is why Marx said, as I said, that the British were probably justified in putting down the Indian Mutiny of 1857, because that mutiny was not a struggle for independence, it was an attempt to restore the Mughal imperial authorities, who were a relatively less advanced mode of production. Now, is that clear? If I didn't make it clear before, let me take the opportunity to make it clear now. That is the compliment Marxism pays to the origins of capitalism. I haven't yet, though, had an answer to my question about why capitalism did not emerge in such very large and theoretically prosperous and productive areas of the globe. And I do think that it is a question that deserves an answer from the capitalist side.
I think the more advanced and intellectual countries have learned that socialism just does not work. So the only place that socialism can be sold now is in very backward countries that are in effect still following the fashions of the 1930s.
Funny as to signal my disagreement with the perspective of Mr. Binswanger.
We need to look at what kind of societies did black people come out of? What happened before this interference? Now, we came out of basic pluralistic societies, but we came out of sharing societies where nobody was very rich and nobody at all was poor. Now, an African in these societies would no more kill a deer and say, "This is mine," than he would fly, because he didn't think that way. He thought of all property as belonging to the total community. Now, we were brought into a society as slaves just at the time the concept of private property and capitalism was getting well underway with the backing of the church. Now, there is a clash between the values of, the best values of the society we came out of and the society that enslaved us. And too many of us are tied up with these values, the sacredness of private property. What is so sacred about private property? What is so sacred about one man taking upon himself more than he could use in a lifetime while people walking by this mountain of wealth starving? Nothing
socialism has been popular is that you have to conceive of the world economy as a gigantic division of labor in which most of those countries' economies have been pretty much at the behest of the core economies in the world, the advanced capitalist countries, in which they've been structured in such a way as to benefit those core economies, but not to benefit themselves. So you have sort of single crop agriculture, primarily for export. You have no internal market in those countries. And the ruling elites that go away to school and come back get it into their heads that in order to change that around, they have to have some form of a command economy where they take control of their own society and their economy. Now, when they've done that and when they've experimented with it, while sometimes they've found that they do need elements of a market and then foreign capital is attractive. But that's the reason that that element of the socialist idea appeals in those countries.
Let's look at this in principle. Let's not try and say, well, maybe because it was raining in South Yemen when they took over, it was a bad time for them to take over, and that's why socialism failed. And maybe because Afghanistan went this way, and because Cuba's dependent on one crop, and because, there's always an explanation ad hoc as to why every single socialist nation that takes socialism seriously ends up with concentration camps and mass slaughter. Let's look at it in principle. In principle, what else can you expect if the government owns all the property in the country? If there is no right to private property, if you cannot own your own printing press, for example, from which you can criticize the government, if the state owns all the printing presses, all the radios, if the means of making a living is in the hands of one group which maintains it by force, the government, so that he who does not work shall not eat, becomes a government edict, What else can you expect? If you make it a crime to trade on the black market, in other words, to engage in capitalist acts, yet people have to engage in these black market activities in order to feed themselves, what else can you expect but more and more black market and more repression to keep it down? There's no escape from a system of any status kind leading to disaster if it gives all that power to the government. Now, the capitalist system says the most dangerous thing in the world is a government. Let's restrain it. Let's keep it down. Let's give it only one function, the function of protecting your freedom from criminals and foreign aggressors. Let's not let it mess in any other area of your life. Let's just have the police and the law courts, and let's not have it be also your employer and the owner of everything. So, in other words, we believe in very, very drastically restricted, limited government. Now, since government's the culprit here, doesn't that point to the answer to your question?
Of the plight of the black man in this country, there's been no perceptible change. Well, primarily because the white man has no reason to. He enjoys the highest standard of living. His government enjoys dominance in world affairs. Why should he turn to me now and say, I want to share part of my good fortune with you? He has no reason to.
I think there's going to be violence.
Really reluctantly, because I had really believed always in the collegial, meditative, discussive experiment. I really believed that, and I do believe in a democracy, totally. I mean, I do believe that change is possible. But I also believe that property rights are sacred, that the power of the dominant class is not easily shared. And I came to reluctantly accept the observations of Mao Zedong that more or less permanent revolution is needed in order to secure effective social change. It's a horrible thing for a police chief to say.
This revolution is filled with so many ironies, really. First you tell us that it is manly to keep your word. All right, if you are a man, you keep your word. And now all that the black people in this country are demanding, and even the black people in the whole world are demanding, is that you keep your word. You told us we were free. Well then, show us that we're free. You told us that there is justice, equality for all in this country. Well then, stick to your word. And let us see the justice and equality for all. Or else admit to us that you're not a man, you're a worm, you're afraid of us, you're afraid to give us equal stand. You're afraid that if you give us equal ground, that we will match you and we will override you. And if that's what you're afraid of us, then tell us that just what you're afraid of. But don't keep hiding it from us and holding this up to us, and every time we ask you for something, you give us a little bit of something, and it's all tokenism. We don't want tokenism. And there are most black men in this world that don't want charity. And yet still every time we ask you for something, you give us a little piece, a little piece. You're playing games with us. We're not children. We're big men. I've seen my father have to put up with all kinds of stuff. He was a big man. He raised a family. He went down south, and he had to go around to the back door with his wife. We're not asking for anything. We're not asking for any favors. All we want is what's ours.
Executive type motherfuckers just looking for somebody just like you.
I'm willing to admit that. I'm willing to admit that is the natural trend.
What's wrong with you today?
What we want is to have absolutely zero personal responsibility. We want to be able to point to the white boogeyman for all of our problems and all the circumstances that we are in.
That sound like a man's job to you?
It's not about unarmed black men anymore. It's about armed black men being protected now.
I just think it's part of capitalism is to promote racism, you know, right? In order to make things work. If you feel better because you're white and you can get a job, you use that. I mean, you know, I would.
Absolutely.
Say, I'm sorry, Jack, but shit, they say I'm white. I'm going to use this.
Right, absolutely.
Get this job. I'm hungry, you know. But, and that separates people. So they keep people separated, and that keeps them from thinking about the real problem. That's as simple as I see it. Probably it's not that simple, but...
Yeah, all right.
We want black privilege. We're accusing people of wanting white privilege. We want special privileges. We want to be able to fire at police officers, to assault them, and to make it home, and to tell police officers, maybe try later. Maybe later I want to be arrested.
Probably kill myself after you leave. Probably just get too drunk one night. You know how I get. I don't know, just jump out the window or something. I don't know. Oh, well,
you and I are about the same age, right? We're in our mid-30s. How long is it going to take before guys who think like you, and I say guys who think like me, people who don't want to have racism in the country, people who don't want to be oppressing any minority, whatever it is, sexual, whatever minority, really get into positions of power and can change things?
You can't get in a position of power, it seems, if you think like that. It seems that the only time you get in a position of power is if you're like the people that are in power. To me, I mean, that's the way it goes. I mean, people that get to become executives become like the people that were already executives.
I don't know, maybe...
They go in with good intentions, but...
We can't pretend that what we're looking for is equality. We're not looking for equality.
It eats them up. It's like a cesspool, you know, it just gets on you and it starts
the system
eating.
levels them.
Right? We had equality. We got bored with equality. Now we want something more. We want to be treated differently. We want special privileges.
Pretty soon it's all
gone. Is that
gone.
what a cesspool sounds like?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. We'll be back right after this. Here's
Okay.
a good guy. Richard Don't go there.
Just let me go get my coat.
Better not forget my goddamn kitchen. Come on. Hey, move! Shit. Get off me now! Shit.
Because you have no concern for the Negroes,